Yeah, me
Anyway,
too.
right. So hi Dawn, this is the second time we've had a chat.
I know. Do you realise the last one was April? It's like a
Oh,
long time ago now. It feels like yesterday.
I wasn't planning to talk to you that often, but
You love it.
I love what I do. It's a
You
West
love
Country thing.
it.
Okay, so but as we're nearing Christmas,
Yes.
what I'm really interested in is I can actually only hear you through the phone and not through my headphones. So I'm assuming, can I just check, is this sound like it's coming through the headphones? You can't tell from there. We tried to do a test, but I don't actually think it's working, which means that I have to do loads in editing to change the sound of me, unfortunately. But it doesn't seem to be working. But anyway, okay. So, but we're leading up to Christmas, and
We are.
one of the reasons why I thought it'd be really useful to talk to you is that you actually ended up giving up before Christmas and not long before Christmas. And I know that was slightly accidental, but you still went through your first Christmas very soon after changing your drinking. And I'm interested in how that was for you.
Not great. I mean, I wasn't very well when I first went sober, so that did make it easier, but I missed out on a lot of Christmas parties and things that I wanted to go to, but I couldn't because I was too ill. And then I started to feel better, I think it was like mid-December. By Christmas Day I was fine, but I found the days very long in my first sober Christmas. I remember Christmas Day just thinking, oh God, this is, I was awake at like 6, and then you've got the whole day ahead of you. Whereas when you're drinking, the time just flies, doesn't it? Before you know it, it's dark again.
Were
But
you better before Christmas? So didn't you just go, oh sod it, I'm just gonna drink because my goal was to give up in January? I don't understand why you.
Because I had two choices. I started to feel better, and there was a Christmas party coming up with all my friends. And the choice was, do I go and drink or do I stay sober? And I think I'd been sober or in bed for about 2 weeks at that point. So I hadn't had a cigarette and I hadn't had a drink. And I just thought, this is a bit ridiculous if I'm then going to start drinking and smoking again to get to New Year, which was my goal to start for the whole of 2017. So
that's a very sensible choice for you, Dawn. It's not,
I think I was still ill. I must have still been ill. No, but with the smoking thing, you see, it was more the smoking thing for me at that point, because I tried to give up smoke. I mean, I tried to give up drinking loads of times, but the cigarettes, I kept going back to them. And one of the reasons I wanted to give up alcohol for a year is I knew that if I gave up the alcohol, I would give up the cigarettes. So because I hadn't smoked for 2 weeks, that just seemed crazy to go back to that, because in my head, cigarettes were more addictive than alcohol. And I knew that if I had a drink, then I'd have a cigarette. So it was kind of, I did really think about it. And of course, all my friends were saying, yeah, but you've only got, you've got a couple of weeks before your challenge starts. And it was like, yeah, I don't know about this.
Did you feel like you had already done a bit of the hard work?
Yeah,
yeah.
That? And it's always a hard question, because people say to me, how did you deal with day one? Well, I didn't really, because day one, I didn't know was my day one. Day one, I was really hungover from a weekend away with friends. And then I got the flu. So I just didn't drink again after that weekend.
I know, but I'm interested because you still had to make a conscious decision.
Yes.
And in your head, you realised that you had already done some of the hard work and you didn't want to undo it.
No.
And I actually think you don't give yourself enough credit for that. You keep dismissing the fact that you started because you were ill. But actually, you didn't start again when you got better, and it was still before the date that you had in your head. And I think that's incredibly a strong decision to have made, and probably in some ways a little bit harder.
And at Christmas. Yeah, I suppose so. But that's why I say to people, when I read that people write, I'm going to give up like now on the 1st of January, I always think, why? The thought's already in your head. Why on earth do you want a couple of weeks now going and drinking yourself silly? Because your brain's already telling you you've had enough. But funnily enough, I just remembered something that I haven't thought about for a long time. on my leaving due from my job, so just before I got ill, just before I had my last drink, I think I left work the 24th of November, and my sobriety date's the 27th of November. I was hungover and I was getting the train to work so I could get hammered at my leaving due. And my friend picked me up, my friend Joe. And in the car was a guy, I don't know his name, but he was sober. And Joe was saying, oh, this is my friend. She's going to give up for a year on the 1st of January. And he said to me, why are you waiting till then? And I've completely forgotten about that. But that's my attitude now. If I think about it, I think it's kind of crazy to be planning to do something, because I think that gives you a lot of time to talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, I gave myself, I set a date for 2 weeks in advance, but I had booked something specific around changing drinking on that day, which I guess at least means that you've committed to something on the day you give up.
Yeah.
And if you don't give up here and now, then the day that you've set as your day one, you have to do something in order to get you into the mood of doing that, to get yourself in the right frame of mind, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the planning forward thing that I know you say about as well. If you give up today, then you've got a couple of weeks ahead of you, 3 weeks till Christmas or 3 weeks till New Year. And that's kind of what was in my head I tell you what was in my head. I've just remembered. My plan was to do the whole of 2017. My plan was to get hammered on the 31st of December. And the reason why I then thought, oh, I'll give up earlier was because I could get pissed earlier the next year. That's what it was. Because I was like, oh, if I start on the 27th of November, actually, I get the Christmas period next year drinking. That was my thought.
But that's interesting, because you were still being a devious drinker.
I was. I had it all planned, how the next year was going to look as well. You know, I was going to be there, and I was going to be rocking.
I've been a bit groggy this Christmas. I
Little
haven't
bit
drunk
groggy.
so far.
Next
so
year,
I can do a year.
I'll be back.
November.
That was it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and
it's an amazing rationale, because of course, just like the rationale which you set yourself a future date because you also didn't think you could do Christmas without drinking. We do that all the time. There will always be something that will make you want to drink. You could go, right, I'm going to start on the 1st of February, and somebody will have a birthday in February, and you'll go, after that and after that. So there is never a good time.
No.
But it's really interesting how your devious mind was working at that point of time as well.
It's still there. See, the thing was, in January, there's a succession of birthdays, which I always didn't complete dry January because, it's 3 or 4 friends' birthdays at the same time. My best friend's birthday is March. My other best friend's is February. My other best friend's birthday is March. So then you're talking April before you could, do you see what I mean? Like every month you've got something. And I'd got to the point, the reason why I started telling everyone and the reason why I started blogging was the accountability of it. Because once I say something, I am too embarrassed to then say, oh, sorry, no, I'm not doing it. So the idea came to me in the summer of 2016. So, I'd put the date on it, but I never wavered on that because I then told so many people. I mean, they thought I was mental, but I knew that I was going to have that year off. I just didn't know that it would. I thought it was just going to be so dull, and it was like the busiest year of my life. It was crazy.
We'll come back to that in a minute, but so you got to Christmas, you're feeling better health-wise, and so suddenly you're surrounded by tons of alcohol. What did you do?
I did, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't easy. We go to the pub on Christmas Eve. I stayed in, I think, in the evening. I think we did go at lunchtime. And it was hard, it was noisy, it was loud. Normally I'd be really up for it. And instead, and I'm still fidgety now. I'm still like, oh God, how long do I have to stay here? I don't enjoy busy, loud pubs, which used to be my haven. Like I say, the days were long. I mean, I did different things. Like I've now got in the habit. My mum said to me yesterday, "You making the dessert for Christmas Day?" And I was like, "Yeah." because I never did anything towards Christmas Day before, mainly because I was so hungover. There was no way I'd be able to do anything. But now I've got in the habit of doing dessert for Christmas Day. So that's good because it keeps, kept me busy. And I always bang on about podcasts. Podcasts literally saved my bacon. Whenever I felt triggery, I put a podcast on. And there's a couple that I listen to, which, I mean, they just took my breath away of how some people, the problems that some people have. And it kind of makes you very humble and very grateful for where you are. And it takes your mind off of you. And whilst it takes your mind off of you, not thinking about having a drink, my trigger times were definitely evenings, 6, 7 o'clock, especially Friday night, not so much Saturday, mainly Friday. And you just have to keep yourself really busy and come up with different things to what you would normally do. I stayed in a lot, whereas normally I'd be out, you'd get a text saying come to the pub. So I stayed in a lot.
But what did you do at the time of year when everyone's going out? What did you do when you were in? Did you just watch telly?
I researched sober groups and I found you. That's what I did.
Shit. Well, everything can't be perfect.
No, so I started writing and researched, I found Club Soda. I don't really remember how. I found you and I found Team Sober. I belonged to a couple of groups at the beginning. I don't really remember the rationale for, I don't remember sitting there going, there must be more people out there, or what I was Googling for, but I found you fairly quickly. And this will make you laugh, because I remember saying, oh, can I share my blog? And UC said, oh, I was like, UC, that's a funny name, isn't it? And he said, why don't you write to Laura and she'll share your blog? And I remember being like, well, she's not having my blog. Why would she have my blog? In my non-collaborative way. And so I started writing that. I mean, I did write a few blogs over Christmas because that's what I kind of channeled my energies into, was getting my stuff out and on paper. So that's what I was doing, writing.
But I think that's really useful, because what I'm hearing you talk about is immersing yourself in the subject, listening to other podcasts, looking around the internet, seeing what other people are doing, and then deciding what to do with your hands and your spare time in that time. And I think often... Oh,
I was eating Lindor balls. That's what I was doing as well.
Did you have them in your cheeks like a big hamster?
I had boxes of them, and then when the box ran out, I'd then get in the car going, oh, this is amazing, I can drive, go to Tesco's, buy another box of them. Yum, 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 yum. Honestly, I ate a box a day at least. I was literally mental with them. And elderflower cordial. Like, my fridge had never been so full of like cordials. I didn't really like the alcohol-free wines and stuff, but I guess you'll ask me about that later. But I was just sugared up, and so that energy had to go somewhere. And at the time, I did no exercise either. So yeah, it was all writing and listening and studying sobriety, really.
Well, that's good, because actually, if you think about it, we'll come back to the sugar and the drinks, but you didn't do it all by design. But can you imagine if you had really planned all of this out and knew that you had to have all of these things in place? It would have been even easier for you. And so I guess, I did a lot of things by accident that turned out to have worked really well for changing drinking, around changing my environment and all sorts of stuff. And you did as well. And I think what's even more powerful is if you can begin to design your approach to changing your drinking and plan it, then you're not hanging on by your fingernails. You're putting in place all the things that you need. Yeah.
I think it was all accidental. I didn't, I think you might have just said that word, but
yeah,
it was all accidental. When this is why I say to people, it's not just about giving up drinking, because I just thought the choice was, do I drink wine or do I drink something else? And that the year was going to be really boring. I would hate everyone. Life was just going to be dull. But I was going to lose weight. And that was one of the major incentives for doing it. And doing the blog was I wanted to document my weight loss from day one until the end, and then have a party in my size 8 dress. That was the idea.
So as you were stuffing those balls in your mouth, how did you feel about that weight loss journey, and how did you actually manage to carry on? Because you must have been going, well, I'm eating chocolate instead, there's no point.
Well, because I decided I did one thing at a time. Well, I did 2 things at the same time. So I was giving up drinking, I was giving up smoking, and I think giving up food as well would have been absolutely impossible, especially at Christmas. And I'm very much the type of dieter that I will buy a house full of stuff, and then the diet will start tomorrow, and then I eat all of the stuff, and then I go, right, this is day one. So that's how I work. So I was eating these balls knowing that on the first week of January I'd have to go to a slimming class. I'd already decided I was going to Slimming World. So I was 6 weeks sober when I decided to do that. And I was worried because of the not smoking, because previous diets, I replaced food with cigarettes. So I was like, right, well, now what am I going to do? Because now I'm not going to have alcohol, I'm not going to have cigarettes, and now the Lindor balls have to go. What's going to happen here? But to be honest, it wasn't so bad.
So you were already planning to be bored for a whole year. How did you deal?
It just sounds so random when you say it. Like, what was I doing?
No, I know. It's interesting because your mindset was still in this can only be a negative change, which is why it's for a year, and it's about my weight loss. So I will immediately be happy by the end of that year. We believe that if we achieve those goals, that we will, particularly around weight loss, that everything will be perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you celebrate New Year's Eve?
Oh, so I went to, I say that and then my friends might be watching, but I went to a house party. I was supposed to be working at my friend's restaurant. Or did I? Maybe I did. No, I did. I worked at my friend's restaurant for a couple of hours. They just needed a bit of a hand. And I went there, and some of my friends that I normally spend New Year's Eve with were there, and they were, getting the wine and all the rest of it. I didn't mind too much about that. But when I got to when I got to the party that I should have got to at 7, I didn't get there till 9:30. It was very slurry. And I'd said that I'd stay till midnight, and I did, but it was really difficult. It was very slurry. And my friend Joey, who was hosting the party, had to go to work, and she was pregnant, so she was my only ally, and then she had to go to work. So, yeah, it was just really slurry. And then I found out about the long goodbye, because I said to them at like 12:05, right, come on, I want to go. And the long goodbye took an hour and a half, I think. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't do a life of this. This is just unbelievable. You've said goodbye. Come on. You've said goodbye. And then I've lost another one, trying to gather them up. Crazy. And I think that's why I've struggled so much with social situations, parties, large gatherings and stuff like that, because I'm a little bit scarred from the beginning of my journey, that I just found it really, really hard. I still find it really, really hard.
I've never drive drunk people home, because you then have to be on their timetable, not on your own.
Yeah, I learned that. I learned those little things on that New Year's Eve. I was like, right, that's it. I'm not staying out. If I go anywhere, it's on my own terms, and I will never go through a long goodbye again.
I just have to stop the group a minute. Can you stop putting names of chocolates in the messaging, because they're coming up in front of me, and I am on a diet, and it's really, truly amazing.
Sorry.
Stop naming chocolate.
What did I name then?
You didn't. It's the people in the
I can't.
Going,
why can't I see that?
No, John, do not talk about mince pies.
I can't see all of that.
Good. I can.
Are they being nice to me?
They're being nice to you, and they're torturing me with names of different foods and chocolate products.
Oh,
so
are
stop
they?
it. No, stop it, Sarah. Right.
Chocolate bomb.
So let's talk about the first bit of your year then. So how did you feel on New Year's Day when you woke up?
Oh, amazing, because you always do, don't you? You're like, woohoo! My New Year's Day had always been notoriously bad for me, because it'd always been way past midnight that I got home, let's put it that way, probably more like sunrise. And I tell you, it was weird driving home that night. That was what was weird, because once I picked everybody, got them all together and then dropped them off, I was then driving along the main road to get home, and it was such an odd feeling because I'd never driven on New Year's Eve in my life, and there was people staggering about, but of course it was still it was relatively early, and to get home, because I live on my own, it is a little depressing when you do come home, or it was at the beginning. Now I can't wait, but at the beginning you're a bit like, oh, is this going to be my life? Only for a year, but. Is this going to be my life that I leave the party going on? Whereas I'd always been the last person left at the party. So it was a bit sad. I remember being a bit sad getting home, but falling asleep really quickly, like you do in early sobriety when you haven't. But I mean, I suppose I had quite a lot of sugar. And then, wake up on New Year's Day and I just felt great. I can't remember what I did. I think I wanted to go and get my photos taken for my before and afters before I started Fat Club, which was on the Tuesday or the 2nd of January. But it was really raining that year. It was really miserable. Didn't go out at all. But just, I felt great that I'd managed to do that because it's quite a big thing to do. But last year on New Year's Eve, I got quite depressed because I just didn't know where I really fitted in. Because I didn't want to go to a party. I wanted to stay in. I did stay in, and then I got woken up by fireworks. So this year I booked to go to Bali. Yeah, awful. I was like, what? I'm awake now. I went to bed at like 9 o'clock. And this year I was supposed to go to Bali because I thought, right, I'm going to go to a beach. Maybe that'll make things better. And the flight got cancelled. So I'm going to be here in my earplugs again, waiting for the fireworks to go off.
I find... I've always found New Year's Eve difficult, even when I was drinking. And there was a lovely period where I went away with friends to cottages, which was really nice. But I don't know what to do with New Year these days either. And yet it goes a bit mental outside here with fireworks. I can see the whole of the River Thames basically. So it's like everybody's just doing fireworks. So it woke me
Having
up
fun.
Well.
Yeah. I don't know what to do really. I do just want to stay in, but when the fireworks did go off last year, I felt a bit Norman no mates, I must admit. And also you've just got that feeling that everyone else is having a good time, everyone else is having fun, but in reality, like you say, New Year's Eve has never been my favourite night of the year ever. So I think again it's the romanticising. Everyone else is doing this, everyone else is having fun. Everyone else is drinking.
I can imagine anything worse than standing outside on a cold Thames waiting for fireworks and those sort of things. So, it's important not to romanticise things that you may not actually have enjoyed or that you always drank in order to be at or tolerate. Yeah. And to try and get rid of those myths in your head.
We tell ourselves a lot of stories
to justify
make up that things were just so amazing in the old days. And they weren't really. Whereas the last 2 years have been amazing, and I remember every minute, and I haven't seen midnight very often. So I don't really plan to see it this year or New Year.
So if we talk about, I mean, you'd done Christmas and New Year under your belt before you had even got to almost a month, really.
It was just under 6 weeks.
Yeah. Did you understand at the time the impact of doing that time of year?
Yeah.
Or how did it make you feel?
Well, I just felt great that I'd got that behind me before I got to Dry January, because of course in Dry January I then had a lot of people in the same boat, so it was kind of like having lots of friends around, a bit like Sober October as well. It's really nice for a month that you've got people that when you do go out are not drinking too. So I was just really chuffed that and I do like that kind of thing when you've got a little buffer, if you like. I had my little buffer, which gave me, I was still thinking, wow, yeah, by November next year.
Was everyone asking you how you did it? Because you've already done 6 weeks.
I can't really remember now. I don't think people thought I was going to fail. I think they were all just a bit in shock about it, really, because I was such a massive party animal. I think, and I guess as well, if your friends think, oh, in a year she'll be back, she'll be back, it'll be okay, they kind of tolerate the time that you're not drinking. But when they started to realise, oh, I don't think she's coming back, I think that this is it, you know, she's kind of turned into sobriety herself. You know, like for example, my mum, bless her, I don't know if she's watching, but she bought me Prosecco for Christmas Day, which she'd bought before I'd give, you know, and she went, oh, we'll just put it in your fridge and take it to someone's house if you go round for dinner. It's like, no, you don't understand. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. I don't know what I did with it. I either gave it to her or my brother or something. But that was kind of the attitude still. Oh, you know, just a little phase.
Yeah.
You'll be back. Save it for when you fancy a drink. So, yeah, I think they're quite used to it now. So I just got a message. I think they're quite used to the fact now that, yeah, it's not going to ever happen again.
So as your year went on, you talk about your mates thinking that, oh, don't worry, she'll be back.
Yeah.
Has this affected your friendships?
Some, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a bit more about that, and is that terrible?
Some people have been like, not a lot has changed. We have stayed the same. We just do different things. My best friend and her husband, we would spend a lot of time drinking and smoking, and just generally, like, I'd spend New Year's Eve with them and their birthday, and they've got a restaurant, so it would be Sundays, and then I'd get Monday off because I knew I'd be rough. And we, of course, we haven't done that kind of thing, so I see them a lot less than I used to, because that was our thing that we did together. But we still, you know, obviously still see each other. And I guess I'm more awkward because I choose not to go to things. I'm very picky about what I go to, I guess is the way to say it. I prefer to go out for a meal. I don't really like going to events that are about drinking. Sorry.
But I think that's interesting because because some people could hear that as being a really negative thing, and
some people have taken my choices as a negative, and that makes me really angry because it's my choice.
That's what I want, because often one thing that gets in the way of people changing their drinking or keeping going is that they feel they get a negative reaction from friends, which is difficult, and the second is that we begin to think ourselves that we're boring, when actually one thing to always know is that life doesn't stay the same. If you go back and think about how you were when you were 18 and 25 and 30, you don't have the same friends in most part, and if you do, because there's a bond that's beyond the individual things that you're doing. And also the way we've socialized has changed, and what this is another, this is another phase of your life where you're changing, and change isn't such a bad thing, but it's a thing that makes us very frightened and can often stop us wanting to change our drinking habits.
I think I tried really hard for 6 months to maintain a level of social activity as I did before, and each time got worse and worse. You know, I'd go to the pub, I'd last 7 minutes, I didn't even get a drink, I'd just be like, no, I can't do it. And I kept thinking to myself, I've got to try and do this, because otherwise, you know, I live on my own, I'm going to just end up on my own, nobody's going to want to know me. But I couldn't get, I just bloody hated being in a pub. The whole thing of it, especially now, I'm just like, I just don't see the point. You know, you go in, it's really loud. Everybody, you know, the first one I went in, I got rum spilt on me or something, so I stank of alcohol. And I was just like, I don't enjoy going to it. There's nothing for me here anymore. So I think I tried really hard, and then I got to the point and I just thought, I just don't want to be doing this anymore. Why do I keep putting myself through this? Because all it's doing is making me unhappy. But I need to still socialise. So I do like breakfast, brunch, lunch, anything in the daytime. about 7 o'clock, I start getting really twitchy, like, right, I need to go home now. I'm just not interested in nighttime
But
activities.
that's a really important thing, because what you're describing is taking the decisions in your life that are right for you, designing your life. And if you think about it, when we were drinking, and even in those first 6 months where you were conforming, really, you were doing what was expected of you and going along to those spaces, you have to remember that those weren't conscious choices you were making. We were being pushed and pulled around by what is a societal norm of getting pissed most of the time. And I think one of the great gifts about changing your drinking isn't the changing its drinking in itself, but learning that you can make decisions about how you want to live your life. And that's absolutely fine. And that's the route to happiness, not always conforming to what you're told.
Yeah.
And so so what I'm seeing in you is in that year that you matured from still trying to maintain some social stuff that you weren't enjoying and beginning to explore new things. And I think that's actually really exciting and again really powerful, and it goes beyond sobriety in itself. I'm not sure if you feel that, but I do.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say as well, I don't know if I'm as outgoing. I am outgoing, you know, I'm not scared of social situations. Like, I do the meetups and stuff. It doesn't bother me at all meeting new people. In fact, they've just been really empowering. But I'm not shy. It's the wrong words, but I'm just like not that party animal that I had believed myself to be. Alcohol made me think that I was somebody that I'm not. You know, like I loved drama. I loved the gossip. I loved the stories. I loved oh my God, can you believe I went out to here and I ended up here and I have no idea what happened in between. I loved all of that, but now I look back at it and I'm just like, oh God, you know, where was I in that period? Why did I think that was acceptable? You know, I used to walk around here on my own at night, really drunk, like couldn't stay on the pavement. I hope my mum isn't watching, but like couldn't stop, you know, I'd be like one side of the road to the other, thinking that was perfectly normal. And I look at it now and think I'm bloody lucky I'm alive, to be honest.
I'm amazed I didn't fall under a tube train, to be honest.
I know. Well, and I lived in London for a while. I mean, I remember walking home from work in London one night and I walked into a brick wall. And I was on my own. I thought it was hysterical. I was like, I just walked into a brick wall. And like, you look at it now, somebody could have been following me. Like, she's nearly knocked herself out. She's fair game. You know, I just really think that I'm lucky to get to this point and see that was just all a bit crazy. But yeah, I've kind of now come to the conclusion about socialising that I am very picky about what I do. And I'm not making any apologies to anyone. If I don't want to go to something, or I don't feel that it's an activity for me, I will say no. And I stand very strongly about that. And fuck what they think. That's what I preach about. And that is a massive rule for me. Because I said yes to a lot of things. You know, at Christmas, when I was drinking, I'd go out night after night and I'd be drinking a wine here to get me through the hangover of the night before, going, that'll make me feel better. A fag out the window, that'll make me feel better, to go out to the next night. And I used to absolutely hate it. And I now look at it and I think, I'm glad I don't have to do that to myself. That, you know, gearing yourself up to go out, it doesn't interest me at all anymore.
Yeah. So tell me about what sort of social things that you do now, and where some of I guess because you've picked up a whole load of readers and a sober community, and you know, I mean, what difference does that make? Because some people will look at you and me and some of the others who gallivant around on the train all around the country and still think we're mad.
I love it.
Why do you even bother going to meet other people? What's in it?
Why do I bother? Yeah, but I did say to you, and I was quite open, I'm quite open with the people that I meet up. Like the Exeter one, once I'd said I'd do it, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to go to Exeter, it's really far, blah, blah, blah. And then Helen came with me in the car and we had a lovely chat, and then we got there and we met some really lovely people that day. Don't know if Debbie's watching. And oh my God, it makes me, like, I've got goosebumps saying it. It makes me really emotional because we all sit there and we've all got a common theme. We all know what it's like to be in the shit, and we're all at some stage of getting ourselves out of it, and it's just really humbling. And honestly, I'm like, feel like I could have a small tear. Oh,
Or you could just drop
I'm
your
still
phone.
here. It's because I grabbed hold of the wire, and I just think it's like, yeah, I just absolutely love them. I love meeting new people anyway, and I've never come away and gone, well, that was a waste of time. I always come home really buzzy, really happy. You know, I've been to Manchester for one. Where else have I been? London, Exeter, Salisbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, love them.
I think I still find it really exciting because you get to spend a bit more time with people that you only really see online, and then you find out more amazing things about them.
Yeah,
And, you know, I'm reminded about things that you might have seen in passing, and you can actually talk about them properly.
yeah.
And yeah, and I'm always excited about the warmth and kindness of everyone that comes.
Everyone.
Everyone's nervous.
Yeah, I've never met anyone. I've never gone home and thought, oh God, I didn't like them, or I've never feel negative afterwards. I always come away going, oh my God, it was lovely to meet them, and they were really nice. You know, in Exeter, all of them had found. I think it was after the Adrian Chiles interview, and so Club Soda was advertised on that, and I think a couple of them knew. So nobody. This was embarrassing. None of them knew who I was. So I was sat there in this very fetching t-shirt, but they all came from Club Soda. They didn't have a clue who SoberFish is. So I'm sat there like, hi, and they're like, why has she got that written all over her area? So yeah, that was really embarrassing, but they were all really sweet, which was lovely.
Yeah, it's cool. And I'm hoping we're going to have loads more next year. Need to gear everyone up. If anyone wants to run a social near them, I've got somebody new who's going to help me help you to organise them, so we can try and get a few more going next year. But they have been one of the most amazing things that have come out of Club Soda. There's one thing being online, but it's another really meeting people, and
But also, you said that you used to sit there on your own, like plan them, and nobody would come.
yeah,
And now I was thinking the other day, look at how many people do come now. I think at Bournemouth we had 10 or 12. You know, that's in 2 years of knowing you, and you've been
yeah.
doing it for a lot longer. So where's it going to be? You know, where's it going to be in 2 years' time? Are they going to be like really big groups, or are they going to be? You know, I think we all have an obligation to keep them going because sober people need sober people.
And you only need one other person for it to be a good social. And
Yeah,
so it's not about numbers, it's about connecting with somebody not far away from you. And
yeah,
it's interesting to see how all the friendships begin to develop
yeah.
with people who are nearby, and all
I
of that
should
sort
I
of
should
stuff.
say that actually. I think it's really important to buddy up. And I always kind of say that when I see people on Club Soda together and they're doing day one, or they have a slip, or they're on day 10, sometimes they feel like they need someone. And I just say to them, why don't you just do a little shout out? And then you can all stick together. Emma Bellinger was my sober sister, and Steve was my twin, and you know, and we helped each other. And you know, it's really, buddies are really important. But and there's nothing wrong, you know, if you can't find someone that's like nearby you, just do a shout. You know, just put anybody on day one, anyone on day 21, because you will find someone, and that's a really important tool, I think, to have someone to fall back to when you need to.
Yeah, and just for those of you that are talking about never having been to a social before, we do them purposely at lunchtime so you can travel, have lunch, and travel home. You're not hungover anymore. You can travel. I mean,
It
there's
is
nothing
a
like
revelation.
it is amazing. Oh, just try.
In fact,
And
you'll be awake at 5, so you have 7 hours to get there. You could go anywhere in the country.
so if you go onto the events section of the group and or go on our website, or if you're not on our email list, they come out every week in our email. Then join our email list. But they're always in the events section of the group, of the Together group. And we're slowly putting in dates for next year. But obviously, you've all got to come to the festival in January, which is 2 days at the Truman Brewery. So come on one of those days. If you come on the Saturday, then Dawn and a few other bloggers will be talking about why they blogged to get to their sobriety, why they even bothered. And we've got some celebrity guests coming to speak as well, the first time ever. And we've got beer tours, and we've got a cocktail stage. It's going to be our best festival yet. So that's definitely one to do in January. And then there's already one for Glasgow booked in January, and there's another one in Exeter,
which
so
is
they're already in the diary.
Exeter is the 26th, I think.
Yeah, so we're beginning to populate the rest of the year. There'll be a pub crawl in January somewhere as well, and I'm hoping we're going to do some exciting things next year, including I think we're going to have to do a day trip to Southwold to have a tour around the brewery to see how they de-alcoholise the Ghost Ship beer. That'd be really cool. So there's some exciting things. And if anyone wants to organise a social, and that includes in Portsmouth, because I've seen someone ask about that, then I can tell you about the person who ran the last Portsmouth one, and maybe together you could do the next Portsmouth one.
Are you telling me to do that?
No, this is the person who on the message said that they want one in Portsmouth. We need your help to do them, but we will give you all the support you need to do it. And we've got a lovely new team member who's actually a long-time friend of mine called Josh, who's helping with socials now, so that he can be slightly more organised than I am in getting all the emails and everything out. Yes, and there's redemption between Christmas and New Year. You're coming to that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Yeah.
Redemption.
Yeah, so I'm coming to London twice, aren't I?
Yeah.
Too many messages.
Get you, jet setter.
I know.
Okay, so before...
Who needs Barley when I've got you entertaining me in East London? Huh?
Well, to be honest, I think we've booked you to do the entertainment.
Great, yeah, I'll do it.
So Dawn, you're so how long are you alcohol free now?
I was 2 years on the 27th of November. So 2 years.
Do you still think you're in a pink fluffy cloud land, or do you think you're going to stay this bloody cheerful forever?
I am pretty cheerful. I mean, I don't have a lot to complain about, really. So, I have a really nice life, and I don't have a lot to complain about. And I'm really busy, which I hate people that say they're really busy, but blimey, I am mega busy at the moment. Never really be that into Christmas, but my cards, I've got one here to show you. So this was my project of this year, was producing sober cards. Got another one, happy soberversary cards, which are on Etsy, and so we're getting those out for Christmas. We've got them in one of the shops. There's an alcohol-free shop in Marlow, so they're up there, and obviously my t-shirts and stuff. So I've kind of got all of that going on, as well as the blog, as well as meetups, and a full-time job. So I don't really have time to be miserable. Oh, and my walking, of course. Walking around. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy. When you say about the pink cloud, I think there is an initial spike of euphoria. I know around 90 days, my health wasn't great around 90 days. It was more, I think it was like 100 days. 100 days felt pretty special. 6 months, I thought I'd be really happy, and I had a bit of a dip then. In fact, thinking about it, you mentioned earlier about like when you hit your weight loss. I hit losing 3.5 stone, and I felt nothing. And I keep meaning to write a blog about how we gear ourselves up to these points. You know, get to 90 days, get to 6 months, get to a year, lose 3.5 stone, you know, walk 10 miles. And then you kind of do it, and it's a bit of a letdown. And I read it a lot. People say, oh, I thought I'd feel differently than this. And I don't know what the answer is. But you do come out of it. I think you anticipate so much of how amazing you're going to feel, that when you don't feel so amazing, you kind of feel a bit of a failure. Does that make sense?
Well, it's because, particularly with things like weight loss, we're told that there's an acceptable way to look and be, and if you're not that, you're clearly missing out. And of course, when you get to that, you realize that still everyone's different shapes and sizes, and also you sort of normalize that change quite a bit. And so actually a change being normal is a good thing, but it just doesn't feel very exciting. yeah
and it's kind of getting your mind into that, you know, that I suppose for me, I've done diet clubs since I was 16. I lost a lot of weight at 16. Then I put it all back. I mean, I've always put it back on. This time, and this is where it's different without alcohol, is yes, I had a break from Slimming World, but I only put on 7 pounds in 7 months. So actually, I've kind of maintained my weight loss now for 2 years, whereas that never happened before. I religiously go to the class every week. I never did that before. I always, I mean, I used to drink wine the night before because that dehydrated me because I was so worried about going on the scales, stupid things like that. So whilst people have their opinions about slimming clubs and stuff, this has really worked for me. I just go and weigh. I don't particularly stick. Sorry.
But you see, what I'm hearing from you isn't that the Slimming Club worked for you in the same way as actually Club Soda doesn't work for you. What it does is it gives you a place to put your commitment. What you are is committed and confident. You were committed at the beginning, and because of the skills you've learned, you're confident. And what Slimming World does, and going to those meetings or going to Club Soda social stuff, does is continue to help you reinforce that you are committed and you're confident about this goal. And it's commitment and confidence that are the keys to success. And you can build that in many different ways, often definitely with many different ways and routes. But you are now confident you're going to keep the weight off. And actually, that's the big epiphany for you. Yeah. I'm confident I'm not going to drink again. That's the major epiphany for me. And that's because I'm confident and I'm still committed.
Yeah. And well, I guess it's all, as well. I think that it's the walking as well, because I do that every day. It's that commitment as well. Like people say, oh my God, I can't believe you went out this morning, and what, you don't have to walk every day, have a rest day, and you don't, but I have to do that for me because I feel better. I know it's contributing to the weight loss. It's kind of, I guess, like you're saying, it's a confident commitment. It has to be done. It has to be done.
It's your keystone habit.
Yes.
That everything else falls around, and so for you, that's what maintains not just the weight loss, but your mental health, your drinking, your smoking, your positive outlook that you have on life. All of that is linked to that keystone habit of walking for you. Yeah.
And I was going to say something then. Oh yeah, a friend of mine stopped drinking, I think 4 years before me, and at that time, of course, I was still drinking a lot. And I remember her being so regimented that, she ate all organic food and she wouldn't touch anything else and only sparkling water. I thought she was insane, but now I totally get it, because you have to have those things in place, like I drive around with sparkling water in my boot. So wherever I go, I've got sparkling water, and that's all I need. I don't need anything else. I'm not really fussed about taking loads of drinks with me or anything. I just like my sparkling water, and so I have it with me. So I've always got some there. I know I have to do my walking. So if I do something the night before and I'm late, then I have to factor it in another way. Do you know what I mean? It is very regimented. It does kind of worry me if I do ever meet someone, because I can't really see how they're going to fit in. But that's maybe why I'm not actually meeting anyone, because there isn't any room for them to fit in. But I'm kind of, I don't know whether I've done that intentionally. Does that make sense? Have I made my life so regimented that there is no room, or would there be room if someone did come along? I don't know. Well, I think being on my own has been a massive factor at staying sober, because I'm not sure how I'd get on if somebody in my life was drinking around me all the time. So I think I've been lucky in that respect.
But equally, it might help you choose the right person to be with and to spend your time with, because you've now got some very clear boundaries.
Very clear.
And it doesn't, and relationships don't have to be about living with each other and spending every single moment that you're not at work together. Says me, who works with UC, but that wasn't intentional. But there are different ways to have relationships that mean that you can still be an individual and have an intimate relationship with someone. So
if they can find a spare 5 minutes.
Well, maybe there's some odd jobs around the house that can
odd jobs,
some other purpose that's useful for you. I don't know. And yes, they may want to walk with you.
No, I walk alone. I have
Do
too
you walk
much to listen
alone?
to. I
All
walk
right.
alone. I live alone. I am alone.
I wander
What are you going
lonely
to
as a
do?
cloud. I can see it now. So, what are your plans for next year then?
Oh, what are my plans for next year? So I've committed to going on my sister-in-law. Well, she will be my sister-in-law next year on a hen do. That's going to be a big test. We're going to Barcelona. There's a few of us going. There's no sober people, I don't think. None.
But there's tons of amazing art galleries
Yeah.
and alcohol-free beers in lots of places if you really needed them. And
I've got my own room, which is expensive, but I think it's a need for me to be able to go, bye.
yeah,
And
definitely.
there's lots of places for me to walk, and they are all very accepting that I will be, they'll be coming home and I'll be going out walking. I'm not scared because I went to Thailand on my own last year. I can pretty much do anything on my own. And so I've kind of planned my type of holiday around being that I'll be there for the essential bits, but with the freedom to walk away. So that's going to be quite interesting. Um, what else? I mean, there's not. I remember someone saying to me that I should be planning things for the blog and things like that. Well, I didn't anticipate that it'd still be going on 2 years later, and I don't plan it at all. I literally, when I write in the morning, I do that in the morning. And when I write a blog, it just comes to me and I just do it. So I don't, which is quite weird because I am quite a planner, but I don't plan any of that stuff. So I haven't thought about anything. I probably should be thinking about dry January and things like that, but I haven't. Oh, and I'm writing the book. So in April, I said to you I wasn't writing the book.
There you are now.
I am writing the book. I think I've written about 20,000 words.
It's really good.
Yeah. The problem is my best time for writing appears to be when I randomly wake up at 4 a.m. and I go blah, 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 and it comes out, which makes me pretty tired because I'm waking up at stupid o'clock to write. But I'm just not putting any pressure on myself. I'm doing it as it comes. I've worked out a way that I want to write it. So, yeah, it's not looking bad. I did promise I'd do it all this weekend and I haven't done anything. But I'm just like, you can't do everything, can you? You can
No,
only do so much.
and if you think about all the times that you kept promising yourself you would give up drinking, and then when you finally did it, you just kept doing it and you followed the steps and you get there. It's
Yeah.
the same with writing. It doesn't matter if you don't write every day, but once you start writing, you've started. And if you write even once every 6 months, you will get there in the end.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
far quicker than if you don't start at all.
the great person for me, I don't know if he's watching, is John, who I got in touch with about the Big Book of Yes, which my short story featured in. And he did, for the whole of November, we had to set ourselves a challenge to write. And thank God he did that, because that's what kind of got me going. And he's going to do the same in January. So he's already said, hold on a sec. He's already said that he's going to do it in January. And I've said, can you just get on my back? Because whilst I knew that again, it's the accountability, isn't it? Because every day I'm like, oh God, I haven't done it. I'll do it tonight, I'll do it tomorrow. And then I had to keep saying confessions to him going, I haven't done what I said I was going to do. So what I'm going to do is this. He doesn't care whether I do it or not. Most of the things that I do, no one cares if I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go for a walk. No one cares if I'm sober. No one cares. I care. And that's the important thing. And for as long as I've got that little John on my shoulder going, have you done your writing? And then I go, all right, I'll do it. That's what works for me, is that little thing on my shoulder going, you've made a commitment, you have to do it.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
Absolutely, and we can definitely find other people in the group for that sort of accountability around drinking, or we may not want the accountability to be around drinking, but around something we want to do because we're not drinking. So you don't always have to ask people to make you accountable on not drinking today. You may, exactly like you, if somebody wants to document their journey, we should be asking people, have you done your bit of writing today?
Yeah.
And sometimes we focus so much on the drinking, it's something else. So you can all ask me if I've done one of my 5 runs a week for my training, if you like.
No, it's have you lifted UC yet? You were supposed to be doing that for Christmas. It's been
But
the only thing I've looked forward to all year, and now nothing.
well, it is coming, but a bit like you, Dawn, your book you said you were going to do, and this year, and it hasn't been done. It will be next year. Lifting weights is quite hard, and I'm doing 3 sessions a week.
Lifting your partner is quite hard.
I'm not quite at lifting 63 kilograms yet, but I am nearer 63 kilograms myself, which is something I never thought would happen. So there we are. So
this is a very good point. Yes.
And a half marathon is also quite a big thing.
I'll let you off. When are you lifting him? May.
Yeah,
I need this to look forward to.
Yeah, May the 16th, I think it is, or May the 19th, something like that.
Cool.
So,
you starving him till then?
I don't think so. I think he starves himself pretty, routinely, normally. I wish I could eat like UC eats, which is not Lindor balls, basically, or anything like that.
Not the Lindor ball diet.
No. Cool. I'm going to leave it there.
Okay.
But I think we should have another chat to see how your book's getting on.
Oh God, I've got you here and John here now, haven't I?
Yeah, there you are. That's what you get for having a go at me for not being able to lift juicy by Christmas.
I'll write the book and you lift him by May. Deal?
Yeah, deal.
Okay, deal.
And I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. And there's
Yeah.
lots of comments for you to look at, including lots of trigger chocolate words. So don't look at those.
I'm over the chocolate. I'm on the mince pies, remember?
Oh, yeah. No, don't do that either.
All right, see you later. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.